Welcome to the 1000 Nights and 1 Night. Now, when it was the 150th night, she said, will relate the tale of Ali bin Bakkar and of Shams al-Nahar. It hath reached me, O august king, that in days of yore and in times and ages long gone before, during the caliphate of Harun al-Rashid, there was a merchant whose son was named Abu al-Hasan Ali bin Tahir, and the same was great of goods and grace, while his son was fair of form and face, and held in favour by all folk. He used to enter the royal palace without asking leave, for all the caliph's concubines and slave girls loved him, and he was wont to be companion with al-Rashid in his cups, and recite verses to him, and tell him curious tales and witty. Withal he sold and bought in the merchant's bazaar, and there used to sit in his shop a youth named Ali bin Bakkar, of the sons of the Persian kings, who was famous of form and symmetry of shape and perfect of figure, with cheeks red as roses, and joined eyebrows, sweet of speech, laughing lipped, and delighting in mirth and gaiety. Now it chanced one day, as the two sat talking and laughing, behold, there came up 10 damsels like moons, every one of them complete in beauty and loveliness, and elegance and grace. And amongst them was a young lady riding on a she-mule, with a saddle of brocade and stirrups of gold. She wore an outer veil of fine stuff, and her waist was girt with a girdle of gold embroidered silk, and she was even as the poet said, silky her skin and silk that zoned waist, sweet voice, words not o'er many nor too few. Two eyes, quoth Allah, be, and they became, and work like wine on hearts they make to rue. O love I feel, grow greater every night. O solace, doomday bring our interview. And when the cortege reached Abu al-Hasan's shop, she alighted from her mule, and sitting down on the front board, saluted him, and he returned her salam. When Ali bin Bakkar saw her, she ravished his understanding, and he rose to go away. But she said to him, sit in thy place. We came to thee, and thou goest away. This is not fair. Replied he, O my lady, by Allah I flee from what I see, for the tongue of the case saith, she is a sun which towereth high a sky. So ease thy heart with cure by patience lent. Thou to her sky height shalt fail to fly, nor she from sky height can make descent. When she heard this, she smiled, and she asked Abu al-Hasan, what is the name of this young man? Who answered, he is a stranger. And she inquired, what countryman is he? Whereto the merchant replied, he is a descendant of the Persian kings. His name is Ali, son of Bakkar, and the stranger deserveth honor. Rejoined she, when my damsel comes to thee, come thou at once to us, and bring him with thee, that we may entertain him in our abode, lest he blame us and say, there is no hospitality in the people of Baghdad, for niggardliness is the worst fault a man can have. Thou heardest what I say to thee, and if thou disobey me, thou wilt incur my displeasure, and I will never again visit thee or salute thee. Quoth Abu al-Hasan, O, my head and my eyes, Allah preserve me from thy displeasure, fair lady. Then she rose and went her way. Such was her case, but as regards Ali bin Bakkar, he remained in a state of bewilderment. Now after an hour the damsels came to Abu al-Hasan and said to him, of a truth, my lady Shams al-Nahar, the favourite of the commander of the faithful, Harun al-Rashid biddeth thee to take her, thee, and thy friend, and thy lord Ali bin Bakkar. So he rose, and taking Ali with him, followed the girl to the caliph's palace, where she carried them into a chamber and made them sit down. They talked together a while, when behold, trays of food were set before them, and they ate, and they washed their hands, and they brought them wine, and they drank deep and made merry. After which she bade them rise, and carried them into another chamber, vaulted upon 4 columns, furnished after the goodliest fashion with various kinds of furniture, and adorned with decorations, as it were one of the pavilions of paradise. There they were amazed at the rarities they saw, and as they were enjoying a review of these marvels, suddenly up came 10 slave girls, like moons, swaying and swimming in beauty's pride, dazzling the sight and confounding the sprite. And they ranged themselves in 2 ranks, as if they were of the black-eyed brides of paradise. And after a while in came another 10 damsels, bearing in their hands lutes and divers instruments of mirth and music. And these, having saluted the 2 guests, sat down and fell to tuning their lute strings. Then they rose, and standing before them, played and sang and recited verses. And indeed, each one of them was a seduction to the servants of the Lord. Whilst they were thus busy, there entered another 10 damsels, like unto them, high-bosomed maids, and of all an equal age, with black eyes, and cheeks like the rose, joined eyebrows, and looked languorous, a very fascination to every faithful wight, and to all who looked upon them a delight, clad in various kinds of colored silks, with ornaments that amazed man's intelligence. They took up their station at the door, and there succeeded them yet another 10 damsels, even fairer than they, clad in gorgeous array such as no tongue can say, and they also stationed themselves by the doorway. Then in came a band of 20 damsels, and amongst them the lady Shams Al-Nahar, as she were the moon among the stars, swaying from side to side with luring gait and in beauty's pride. And she was veiled to the middle with the luxuriance of her locks, and clad in a robe of azure blue, and a mantilla of silk embroidered with gold and gems of price, and her waist was girt with a zone set with various kinds of precious stones. She ceased not to advance with her graceful and coquettish swaying, till she came to the couch that stood at the upper end of the chamber, and seated herself thereon. But when Ali bin Bakkar saw her, he versified with these verses: Source of mine evils, truly she's alone, of long love longing and my groans and moans. Near her I find my soul in melting mood, for fear of her and wasting of my bones. And finishing her poetry, he said to Abu al-Hasan, Hast thou dealt more kindly with me? Thou hast forewarned me of these things ere I came hither, that I might have made up my mind and taken patience to support what hath befallen me. And he wept and groaned and complained. Replied Abu al-Hasan, O my brother, I meant thee naught but good, but I feared to tell thee this lest such transport should betide thee as might hinder thee from foregoing with thee, and be a stumbling block between thee and her. But be of good cheer, and keep thine eyes cool and clear, for she to thee inclineth, and to favour thee designeth. Asked Ali bin Bakkar, What is this young lady's name? Answered Abu al-Hasan, She is hight Shams al-Nahar, one of the favourites of the commander of the faithful, Harun al-Rashid, and this is the palace of the caliphate. Then Shams al-Nahar sat gazing upon the charms of Ali bin Bakkar, and he upon hers, till both were engrossed with love for each other. Presently she commanded the damsels, one and all, to be seated each in her rank and place, and all sat on a couch before one of the windows, and she bade them singing, whereupon one of them took up the lute and began caroling. Give thee thou message twice, bring clear reply in tries. To thee, O Prince of Beauty, with complaint I rise. My lord has heart blood dear, and life's most precious prize. Give me one kiss in gift, or loan if thou devise. And if thou crave for more, take all that satisfies. Thou don'st me sickness dress, thee with health sweet I bless. Her singing charmed Ali bin Bakkar, And he said to her, "Sing me more of the like of these verses." So she struck the strings and began to chaunt these lines. By stress of parting, O beloved one, thou madest these eyelids torrent race to run. O gladness of my sight and dear desire, goal of my wishes, my religion, pity the youth whose eyne are drowned in tears, of lover gone distraught and clean undone. When she finished her verses, Shams al-Nahar said to another damsel, "Let us hear something from thee." So she played a lively measure and began these couplets. His looks have made me drunken, not his wine. His grace of gait disgracefully to design. Days me no cup, but cup with curly crop. His gifts overcame me, not the gifts of vine. His winding locks of patience clue unwind. His robed beauties robbed all wits of mine. Now when Shams al-Nahar heard this recital from the damsel, she sighed heavily, and the song pleased her. Then she bade another damsel to sing. So she took the lute and began chanting. Face that with the soul in heaven lamping vies, youth tides fair fountain which begins to rise, whose curly side beer writeth writ of love, and in each curl concealeth mysteries. Cried Beauty, when I met this youth I knew, 'tis Allah's loom such gorgeous robes supplies. When she finished her chanting, Ali bin Bakkar said to the slave maiden nearest him, "Sing us somewhat, O thou damsel." So she took the lute and began singing. Our trysting time is all too short for this long courtry. How long must nay, nay, and wait, wait? This is not our old nobility. And now the time deigns lend delight, profit of the opportunity. When she ended, Ali bin Bakkar followed up her song with flowing tears, and as Shams al-Nahar saw him weeping and groaning, complaining, she burned with love, longing, and desire, and passion, and transport consumed her. So she rose from the sofa and came to the door of the alcove where Ali met her, and they embraced with arms round the neck, and fell down fainting in the doorway. Whereupon the damsels came to them, and carrying them into the alcove, sprinkled rose water upon them both. When they recovered, they found that Abu al-Hasan, who had hidden himself in the side of a couch, said to the young lady, and the young lady said, "Where is Abu al-Hasan?" So he showed himself to her from beside the couch, and she saluted him, saying, "I pray Allah to give me the means of requiting thee, O kindness of men." Then she turned to Ali bin Bakkar and said to him, "O my lord, passion hath not reached this extreme pass with thee without my feeling the like, but we have nothing to do save to bear patiently what calamity hath befallen us." Replied he, "By Allah, O my lady, union with thee may not content me, nor gazing upon the assuage the fire thou hast lighted, nor shall leave me the love of thee which hath mastered my heart, but with the leaving of my life." So saying, he wept, and the tears ran down his cheeks like threaded pearls. And when Shams al-Nahar saw him weeping, she wept for his weeping. But Abu al-Hasan exclaimed, "By Allah, I wonder at your case, and am confounded at your condition. Of a truth, your affair is amazing, and your chance dazing. What? This weeping while ye are yet together? Then how will it be what time ye are parted and far separated? Indeed, this is no time for weeping and wailing, but a season for meeting and merrymaking. Rejoice, therefore, and take your pleasure, and shed no more tears." Then Shams al-Nahar signed to a slave girl, who arose and presently returned with handmaids bearing a table whose dishes of silver were full of various rich viands. They set the table before the pair, and Shams al-Nahar began to eat, and to place tidbits in the mouth of Ali bin Bakkar, and they ceased not doing until they were satisfied, when the table was removed and they washed their hands. Then the waiting woman fetched censers with a manner of incense, aloe wood and ambergris and mixed scents, all manner of incense, and sprinkling flask full of rose water were also brought, and they were fumigated and perfumed. After this, the slaves set on vessels of graven gold, containing all kinds of sherbets, besides fruits fresh and dried, that heart can desire and eye delight in. And lastly, one brought a flagon of carnelian full of old wine. Then Shams al-Nahar chose out 10 handmaidens to attend on them, and 10 singing women, and dismissing the rest to their apartments, bade some of them who remained strike the lute. They did as she bade them, and one of them began to sing. My soul to him who smiled back my salute, in breast reviving hopes that were no more. The hand of love my secret brought to light, and censors tongues what lies my ribs below. My teardrops ever press twixt me and him, as though my teardrops showing love would flow. When she finished her singing, Shams al-Nahar rose and filling a goblet, drank it off, then crowned it again and handed it to Ali bin Bakkar. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 154th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Shams al-Nahar filled a goblet and handed it to Ali bin Bakkar, after which she bade another damsel sing, and she began singing these couplets. My tears thus flowing rival with my wine, pouring the like of what fills cup to bring. By Allah, what I not and run these eyne with wine, or else it is of tears I drink. And when she ended her recitation, Ali bin Bakkar drained his cup and returned it to Shams al-Nahar. She filled it again and gave it to Abu al-Hasan, who tossed it off. Then she took the lute, saying, None shall sing over my cup save myself. So she screwed up the strings and intoned these verses. The tears run down his cheeks in double row, and in his breast high flameth lover low. And whether far or near his teardrops flow, our life to thee, O cup-boy, beauty died. From parted hair to calves, from black to white, so beameth from thy hands and from thy lips, Pleiades and full moon through thy colors night. Good sooth, the cups which made our heads fly round, are these thine eyes passed round to daze the sight? No wonder lovers hail thee as full moon, waning to them for self their waxing bright. Art thou a deity to kill and quicken, bidding this fair forbidding other white? Olive from model of thy form made beauty, and zephyr scented with thy sprite. Thou art not of this order of humanity, but angel lent by heaven to man. When Ali bin Bakkar and Abu al-Hasan and those present heard Shams al-Nahar's song, they were like to flow for joy, and sported and laughed. But while they were thus enjoying themselves, lo, up came a damsel, trembling for fear, and said, O my lady, the commander of the faithful's eunuchs are at the door, Afif and Masur and Marjan and others whom wot I not. When they heard this, they were like to die with fright. But Shams al-Nahar laughed and said, Have no fear. Then quoth she to the damsel, Keep answering them whilst we remove hence. And she caused the doors of the alcove to be closed upon Ali and Abu al-Hasan, and let down the curtains over the entrance, they still being within. After which she shut the door of the saloon and went out by the privy wicket into the flower garden, where she seated herself on a couch she had there, and made one of her damsels knead her feet. Then she dismissed the rest of her women to their rooms, and bade the portress admit those who were at the door. Whereupon Masrur entered he, and his company of 20 with drawn swords. And when they saluted her, she asked, Wherefore come ye? Whereto they answered, The commander of the faithful saluteth thee. Indeed, he is desolate for want of thy sight. He letteth thee know that this be him a day of joy and great gladness, and he wishes to seal his day and complete his pleasure with thy company at this very hour. So say, wilt go to him, or shall he come to thee? Upon this she rose, and kissing the earth, replied, I hear and I obey the commandment of the Prince of True Believers. Then she summoned the women guards of her household and other slave damsels, who lost no time in attending upon her, and made a show of obeying the Caliph's orders. And albeit everything about the place was in readiness, she said to the eunuchs, Go to the commander of the faithful, and tell him that I await him after a little space, that I may make ready for him a place with carpets and other matters. So they returned to haste to the Caliph, while Shams al-Nahar, doffing her outer gear, repaired to her lover Al bin Bakkar, and drew him to her bosom, and bade him farewell, whereat he wept sore, and said, O my lady, this leaving taking will cause the ruin of my very self, and the loss of my very soul. But I pray Allah grant me patience to support the passion wherewith he has afflicted me. Replied she, By Allah, none shall suffer perdition save I, for thou wilt fare forth to the bazaar, and consort with those that shall divert thee, and thy life shall be sound, and thy love hidden for sure. But I shall fall into trouble and tristesse, nor find any to console me more by token that I have given the Caliph a tryst, wherein happily great peril shall betide me by reason of my love for thee, and my longing for thee, and my grief at parting from thee. For with what tongue shall I sing, and with what heart shall I present myself before the Caliph? And with what speech shall I company the commander of the faithful in his cups? And with what eyes shall I look upon a place where thou art absent? And with what taste shall I drink wine of which thou drinkest not? Quoth Abu al-Hasan, Be not troubled, but take patience, and be not remiss in entertaining the commander of the faithful this night. Neither show him any neglect, but be of good heart. Now at this juncture, behold, up came a damsel who said, Shams al-Nahar, O my lady, the Caliph's pages are come. So she hastily rose to her feet and said to the maid, Take Abu al-Hasan and his friend, and carry them to the upper balcony, giving upon the garden, and there leave them till darkness come on. When do thou contrive to carry them forth? Accordingly, the girl led them up to the balcony, and locking the door upon them, both went her way. As they sat looking at the garden, lo, the Caliph appeared, escorted by 100 eunuchs, with drawn swords in hand, and girt about with a score of damsels, as they were moons, all clad in the richest of raiment, and on each one's head was a crown set with jewels and rubies, while each carried a lighted flambeau. The Caliph walked in their midst, they encompassing him about on all sides, and Masrur and Afif and Wasif went before him, and he bore himself with graceful gait. So Shams al-Nahar and her maidens rose to receive him, and meeting him at the garden door, kissed ground between his hands. Nor did they cease to go before him till they brought him to the couch, whereon he sat down, whilst all the waiting women who were in the garden and the eunuchs stood before him, and there came fair handmaids and concubines, holding in hand lighted candles and perfumes, and incense and instruments of mirth and music. Then the sovereign bade the singer sit down in her place, and Shams al-Nahar came up and seated herself on a stool by the side of the Caliph's couch, began to converse with him, and all this happening while Abu al-Hasan and Ali bin Bakkar looked on and listened unseen of the king. Presently the Caliph fell to jesting and toying with Shams al-Nahar, and both were in the highest spirits, glad and gay, when he bade them throw open the garden pavilion. So they opened the doors and windows and lighted the tapers till the place shone in the season of darkness, even as the day. Then the eunuchs removed thither the wine service, and quoth Abu al Hasan, I saw drinking vessels and rarities whose mine eyes never beheld, vases of gold and silver, and all manner of noble metals and precious stones, such as no power of description can describe, till indeed it seemed to me I was dreaming for excess of amazement at what I saw. But as for Ali bin Bakkar, from the moment Shams al-Nahar left him, he lay strown on the ground for stress of love and desire. And when he revived, he fell to gazing upon those things that had not their like, and saying to Abu al-Hasan, O my brother, I fear lest the Caliph see us or come to know of our case, but the most of my fear is for thee. For myself, of truth, I know that I am about to be lost, past recourse, and the cause of my destruction is naught but love and longing and excess of desire and distraction and disunion from my beloved after union with her. But I beseech Allah to deliver us from this perilous predicament. And they ceased not to look out of the balcony on the Caliph, who was taking his pleasure, till the banquet was spread before him, when he turned to one of the damsels and said to her, O Garam, let us hear some of thine enchanting songs. So she took the lute, and tuning it, began singing, The longing of a Bedouin maid, whose folks are far away, who yearns after the willow of the Hejaz and the bay, whose tears when she on travellers lights might for their wavers serve, and eke her passion with its heat their biovac pure for purvey, is not more fierce nor ardent than my longing for my love, who deems that I commit a crime in loving him alway. Now when Shams al-Nahar heard these verses, she slipped off the stool whereon she sat, and fell to the earth fainting, and became insensible to the world around her, upon which the damsels came and lifted her up. And when Ali bin Bakkar saw this from the balcony, he also slipped down senseless. And Abu al-Hasan said, Verily, fate hath divided love-desire equally upon you twain. As he spoke low, in came the damsel who led them up to the balcony, and said to them, O Abu al-Hasan, arise thou and thy friend, and come down, for of truth the world hath waxed straight upon us, and I fear lest our case be discovered, or the Caliph become aware of you. Unless you descend at once, we are dead ones. Quoth he, And how shall this youth descend with me, seeing that he hath no strength to rise at all? Thereupon the damsel began sprinkling rose water on Ali bin Bakkar, till he came to his senses, when Abu al-Hasan lifted him up, and the damsel made him lean upon her. So they went down from the balcony, and walked on a while, till the damsel opened a little iron door, and made the two friends pass through it, and they came upon a bench by the Tigris bank. Thereupon the slave girl clapped her hands, and there came a man with a little boat, to whom she said, Take up these two young men, and land them on the opposite side. So both entered the boat, and as the man rowed off with them, and they left the garden behind them, Ali bin Bakkar looked back towards the Caliph's palace, and the pavilion, and the grounds, and bade them farewell. Thereupon the damsel said to the boatman, Make haste with them both. So he plied his oars deftly, the slave girl being still with him. And Shahrazad perceived the dawning of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. And so do I cease my telling of this tale for today, till it be morrow.